Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to like, comment, share, follow, and subscribe. Now let's get on with today's show. After getting questions from multiple authors about doing large and national trade shows and book fairs, I figured I needed to address the topic in more depth. I've talked about using events to sell and promote your books before, but these recent questions I've received take the question to a whole new level with consideration of large-scale book fairs and shows. For about a decade of my career, I was an exhibit sales manager and then trade show marketing manager and worked in sales for the convention and conference hotel business, as well as a promotional products distributor and trade newspaper editor. A lot of my work was focused on shows and events for my clients and myself. With having many years in and around trade shows and fairs, I'll share what I learned, including some dirty little secrets about the business and how it all applies or doesn't to self-published authors' book marketing. Self-published authors often consider participating in smaller, local, more community or niche-focused events to promote their books. That's understandable and can be effective. But some authors with larger visions may get lured into thinking that going big for events will dramatically increase visibility for themselves and their books. But it's the same situation as authors who feel they need to go wide with their distribution. Going big does not automatically mean getting big results. The biggest problem is self-published authors' small budgets. Exhibiting in person at large trade shows or fairs is expensive. For example, the minimum exhibit cost for the Los Angeles Book Fair in 2022 is $1,250. And yes, I fielded questions from multiple authors who have considered this event. That's just for the bare booth space. That includes the table, backdrape, electrical access, and having your booth listed in the exhibitor list. That does not include any travel costs, displays, signage, pre-show marketing, lead capture badge scanners. I don't know if they offer it, but it is a common offering at trade shows, parking, swag, and so much more. Even if you're local to the show venue, you will have additional costs that could balloon your total investment to thousands of dollars. Considering that my 2018 self-publishing survey research found that 73% of self-published authors make less than $1,000 a year in book income, it's a losing proposition for most, even before the event opens. The lure for many author exhibitors is the numbers of attendees that the trade shows promote. The attendee numbers are often a fiction, pun intended for our discussions here, making it one of the dirty little secrets of the trade show industry. When trade shows and fairs estimate attendees, they throw in all the exhibitor staffers in the count. While at very big shows, that might be a mere fraction of the total attendee number, what this tells you is that the promoted numbers may not be all visitors with buyer potential. Trade shows know that there can be a lot of networking activity between exhibitor staffers at the show, even though they are not technically visitors. That's one reason why they include this in their counts. Something else that shows offer exhibitors is a supply of free passes to the show. Exhibitors can distribute these freely to anyone they want. These people may or may not be qualified. Remember, too, that exhibitors are distributing these passes in the hopes that the recipients will visit their own booths, not your booth or the show in general. These invited guests may make a beeline for the inviting exhibitor's booth probably for some incentive, prize, or perk, and they may never get to your booth. Yet these attendees are included in that total count too. For freebie events, lots of people may register and never attend. While many events try to get a handle on how many people actually attend by scanning badges, the pre-registration numbers may be the ones used in promotions. Make sure you know which estimate they're using and basing their attendance estimate on. Some shows, especially smaller local and community events, may not have sophisticated registration systems to sort out or even qualify attendees. So every attendee is a visitor, overinflating the numbers of attendees. When I first started with the trade newspaper, I wasn't sure how many copies of the paper to bring to our booth at a long-running trade show that was in the area. My publisher said not to bring more than 100, even though the promoted attendee account was about 1,200, if my memory serves me correctly. That's less than 10% of the attendee count. After doing the show for a few years, I realized that that was way more than I needed. I could have probably brought 25 to 50 at most and still had some to bring back home. For really large shows where there may be tens to hundreds of thousands of attendees, most of them will never go through the whole show. Some of them may target some special booths to visit and then leave. I even think that using my usual estimate of 1% of your author fan base as potential buyers is way high if using it to estimate how many visitors for a show could stop by your booth. I'd suggest way less than 1% of the show's posted attendee numbers as potential booth visitors. Notice I said visitors, not buyers. The only way you'll be able to get a handle on this attendee question is if you actually test out the event one year. But with the high cost involved, I'd suggest visiting the show first to do some reconnaissance work. Talk to exhibitors that are similar to you. Casually ask them how the show is going for them. Attend on one of the last days of the event. Everyone is usually upbeat on show opening day, but by day 2 or 3, everyone is tired. And if it's been a disappointment, whether that was due to the show's or the exhibitor's own poor marketing, they're more than happy to share that disappointment with you. But I'll make lots of sales that will cover my costs. Even if just a fraction of the attendees stop by my booth and buy, I'll make my money back. No, you won't. Realize that lots of people go to shows and fairs to get free stuff, especially book fairs. In a pre-pandemic Publisher's Weekly article on BookCon 2019, it reported that attendees were complaining of fewer free ARC copies or advanced reader copies and free swag from publishers. So yeah, people are looking for freebies. If you're only selling, not giving away, it might be a hard pass at your booth. I can't tell you the number of times over the years that I got asked, "Is this free?" as people visited my booth. One guy even walked behind me to swipe one of my books from my display stack at a networking event while I talked to another show visitor. I wasn't sure what to do. Embarrass him by telling him it was for sale? Let it pass, hoping others didn't see him and follow his lead? I opted for telling him, but I wish I wouldn't have. What an embarrassing situation for both of us. So you'll have to be concerned about all of that kind of thing, which will impact your sales at these events. You may also be prohibited from making direct sales. Working for a large computer show at the dawn of the internet age, I had a lot of small exhibitors who were selling books and training for internet technologies. We strictly prohibited exhibitors from delivering product on the show floor due to sales taxation issues and local regulations. As well, This was a large national show for big corporate vendors, household names you would recognize. Selling on the show floor would have junked up the overall image of the show. However, there are many local shows and fairs that do allow sales on the floor to visitors. They may have a set of rules and disclaimers regarding sales practices and taxes. Be sure you know what the selling rules of the show floor are. It could prevent you from making those direct sales, expose you to sales tax liabilities, and make it more difficult to achieve an ROI from your exhibit. So are large book fairs and trade shows worth doing for self-publishing? The trade show industry is a cheerleader for using shows for sales lead generation. Theoretically, that's true and is relevant for larger operations with more complex selling situations and large dollar value sales. An exhibit that generates a lead for a sale that makes tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions, is very worth it. These are relationship sales that must start with connections and culminate in a successful and professional sale. A trade show can be the spark for that relationship, but a single in-person print book sale might be a few bucks. That's pocket change. Plus, you need to purchase books to have on hand, which will be an investment on top of the huge dollar amounts you'll shell out for exhibiting. Also, don't ignore the fact that ebooks and audiobooks don't fare well for in-person sales. The buyer has to intentionally purchase and download the electronic formats after the show. They have to really, really want the book. I found that event buyer prospects that say they'll buy the electronic version don't. They forget. Self-published authors need to evaluate their show and fair exhibit investments against potential ROI. In most cases, it doesn't work. Do the math. I hope you found that helpful, and if you did, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show on whatever podcast app you like to use. I'm on all the major ones, including Apple Podcast and Spotify. If you like the YouTube video better, you just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell so you get an alert when a new video is available. I would appreciate it if you would share either the audio or the video with your friends on social media. My self-published books, which are not going to be at trade shows, at least not right now, are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is go to one of those sites, type in my name, Heidi Thorne, and my author page will come up with a list of all available titles. If you would like to connect with me, my website is HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode, and in the meantime, have a great day.